certain thresholds he's got to meet out there. We can get those things done, and we can actually have Democrats join with Republicans to get those done to get the economy going.
Let's step back to the recall elections for a moment. The two Republicans that that essentially lost their legislative careers because of their votes. Senator Kapanke is from a very Democratic district. It's surprising he was able to hold that seat the couple of times he's won in the past. And in the Oshkosh-Fond du Lac district, Senator Hopper had some personal issues in his life that were made into a big deal that might have been the difference in the closest of all of the elections. Other than that, the Republicans held their ground. But the race that I think was most telling, and everybody knew it would decide the Senate, was the one that Mike Tate, the Democratic Party chairman, said, this is the one for all the marbles. That was the Darling Pass race here in southeastern Wisconsin, your own backyard. Right. You've got to be gratified that not only did Alberta Darling win, that in the end, it really wasn't that close. The margin was 5,000 votes. It was 54-46. This is the one that they threw everything at. And in the end, the voters had her back and had your back.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the other two you mentioned, both courageous men who said to me personally that they were willing to put the interest of the
Dan
state.
Dan Kapanke said in February, I'm willing to give up my career in order to save the finances of Wisconsin.
The same thing, and I think that is so rare in politics that people knowingly go into a vote doing that, but they did it for the right reasons. Alberta, one of the great things, you even saw her last night when the results weren't
Is
still
she
out.
not unbelievable? She did 97 interviews. She's got more. I just still laugh about 3 years ago when they tried to spread the rumor that she wasn't physically healthy enough for the job.
She ran circles around everybody, and I texted her in the midst of all this, and I said, you're amazing. You're still on point. I mean, she was making the points even after hours after the polls closed. You know why? Because she actually believes it. She understands it. She knows that these things are working, and she is ecstatic, just as I am, that it wasn't just about an important vote, that in the end, we are helping places like Brown Deer and one of her school districts in her Senate district, where they're pointing out that they can once and for all do things they could never dream of doing before. She's excited about that, and believe that. And I think that even though they dumped, unbelievable amounts of money, about double the all-time record we had before, she was still able, under that amount of attack, to handle it, because the voters in the end understood that it's working. She believed in it. She was a part of it. Instead of being a victim of it, she was celebrated for what she did to bring this state forward.
One of the keys was that in the end she embraced the budget. And I was critical of the Republicans early on for trying to talk about all sorts of other things and doing a bunch of attack ads on irrelevancies. I think in Oshkosh, Senator Hopper made a mistake carrying on about a vote on a pay raise. In the end, everybody knew what this was. It was a referendum on the budget that you proposed and the changes in the law that you proposed that the Republicans then embraced. And everybody knows that Alberta was the chairman of the Joint Finance Committee, that she was an integral part of all of this, and she never ran away from it. And her victory, the other part, she not only won, there were 75,000 votes cast in that Senate district. By comparison, the Oshkosh-Fond du Lac district, same population, 55,000. There were more votes cast in this district here, the Darling Pass race, than in any of the other recalls. 75,000 in a state Senate district. That's about what happens in a presidential election. People came out on the Republican side to fight back against this attempt to throw her out of office for doing what she felt was right and what you felt was right.
Right. In the end, there was nobody that went to the polls that didn't know the passion, that didn't understand the issue. There might have been, in other races around the state, there might have been people who went not because they were voting for someone, but because they were voting against one of the candidates they didn't like because of all the attack ads. In her case, despite the unbelievable volume of attack ads from across the country, she stayed on focus, she stayed on point, she stayed on message, and will continue to now as one of the leaders of the legislature of pointing out we're doing the right thing, we're getting the state working again, and it's working.
Final question. There are some who are going to argue that you've now laid the groundwork for Wisconsin to succeed. Are you thinking about running for president?
No.
You're going to take it off the table right here.
No,
the party's still desperately looking for a candidate. I got 3 calls from national people today who were shocked. They just presumed that this union effort to recall senators was going to work because they've heard that Walker's wildly unpopular in Wisconsin. They're shocked that you have pulled this off.
Hey, in the end, Mark, you know this as well as anybody else. There's never been a Republican elected before, and who knows if there ever will be again in Milwaukee County. We were elected 3 times, and that's because I believe more than anything, in moments of crisis, people care less about Republican or Democrat as much as they care about leadership. Alberta Darling, we just talked about, wasn't elected just because she's a Republican. She was elected because she showed leadership in a time of crisis. It's why all these other senators were upheld, and why even senators who had problems or districts that were difficult even came close, like you said, with Senator Hopper, because in the end, even those who had problems with the other issues understood the leadership involved here. That's what it's about. People are craving leadership in our state. I believe they're craving leadership in this country, but right now we are too committed to helping us get this state back on track. I'm totally focused on helping Wisconsin create 250,000 jobs. I'm not interested in any other campaign.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
That's the governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker. All right.